Hello and welcome back to the Rethinking Intelligence podcast. I am your host, Cindy Dickman, and today I am excited because our episode today is part of our new series called Elevated Thoughts, where we speak to people who are really groundbreaking in their discipline and their craft. And so today our guest is Jason Latimer. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
We
glad to be here.
Oh, perfect. I love it. And I love your office space. It's like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, this is where we shoot all the Impossible Science episodes
I
for all
love
our
it.
lesson plans and camps and everything. It's actually a home away from home.
I love it.
Sometimes it's just my home,
It's just your home.
but not all the time. But I feel like I'm here a lot.
I
So
love it. I love it. Well, and before we get too far in, for those of you who don't know who Jason Latimer is, I have the privilege of speaking with someone. I'll give a really condensed version because we were talking before we started recording, and I had all this stuff because his bio is literally amazing. I'm not going to give it all, but for those who are interested, and I highly suggest go on IMDb, read about him, and see what he's done. But the shortened version is he is a world champion of magic, which is incredibly no small feat, who has entered the educational space to really bring his passion of keeping wonder, instilling wonder, bringing wonder back to life, because he feels that is where the magic of life is.
that's
So
perfect. That's all I need. That's all.
and
That,
I have so much like I had written down, but seriously go on and read about him because the people that he has worked with, the awards he has received, it's not just for accolades, but I think it goes beyond just saying kudos, and it goes to say really how groundbreaking you are and your passion for
thank you.
combining science with your craft.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. It's something I truly believe in, and as far as inspiring kids to ask questions about how things work,
mm,
and after a lifetime of studying magic and a lifetime of studying applied science,
mm,
it was natural for me to try to ask questions of how could I inspire somebody else to have the same curiosity I did when I was on this path. And so this fact that it's gotten to the scale it's already at is pretty exciting, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So yeah, it's just the beginning.
absolutely. And can you talk about because curiosity, in order to be a magician, you have to have that natural curiosity because you want to pull that out in people, right? When you're performing. And can you talk about like what came first for you? The interest in the science, the curiosity in the science, or the curiosity in the magic world?
Well, I think magic has this great ability to inspire people to ask questions. I mean,
Mm,
anybody who's ever gone to a magic show, they have tons of questions at the end. And when I was a kid, no different. I saw a show when I was 9 years old, and I just remember saying, "Wait, how is that possible? How does that work? What do I not know?" And I eventually found myself studying magic books, but then I quickly gravitated towards science books because the same questions apply. What do I not know? And so magic's really good at giving you this goal-oriented education. I want to make this look like this. I want to make it look like somebody's floating up in the air, right? And so you just ask questions until you figure out an answer that would work, whether it's an illusion or not, trick or real. The process is exactly the same, a goal-oriented education. And so I ended up finding myself studying applied science to be a better magician. So
mm,
I was in UC Santa Barbara studying applied physics, perceptual psychology, uh, economics, what more of game theory, and I was applying all of these to my illusions when I first got started. So all of them was like, I want to bend light. What does that look like? I want to shape water. What does that look like?
mm,
I want to rotate the stage in front of everybody. What does that look like? And I just kept asking questions until I figured it out. And then so magic set up the question, and science was literally just learning about all the answers we've had so far in that pursuit of that question, which is the same as any new cure or technology or innovation. It starts with a question, which is why wonder's so important. We're back in the same spot. Then we're back.
And you're like, that's where it all begins and ends. It's absolutely right. And I feel like when you infuse that wonder in there, it's not static, right? Wonder is something that is full of joy and excitement So it brings that extra layer, that extra element into what you're doing and the questions that you're asking. It's infused with excitement.
We have a tendency to fall for what's known as the illusion of knowledge. Like once you feel like you know everything, you'll stop asking questions. And so you have a tendency to say, I already know the answer. I don't need to learn anymore. And that happens, it becomes harder and harder to see beyond the illusion as you get older because you've spent your entire life reinforcing every fact that you believe in. Engineers fall prey to it all the time. This is how we always do it. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's the only way to do it. You know, scientists fall scientists fall prey to it all the time. And that's why people scientists usually joke around about we are the easiest people to fool because we have a very set way of thinking, and you'll fool yourself. But that's the illusion of knowledge. But no one knows everything, and that's the most important thing to remember.
So how would you say you protected yourself from that illusion of knowledge?
I comfortably have no idea what I'm doing.
So it's just innate, it's an innate gift you have to
I've
just
spent
acknowledge that. Because
I've
I feel
spent
like so many people can't acknowledge that they don't know everything.
I've spent my entire life admitting that.
Mm,
I'm totally excited about everything I don't know. I am genuinely, insatiably curious about how things work. And I think it came from being raised by a pack of wild magicians. Like I joined the Magic Castle in Hollywood at a very young age.
oh,
And
you're kidding.
I
Okay.
had a lot
Fantastic.
of I had a lot of great mentors throughout the years. And nobody knows what's ultimately possible. Like that's the secret. So
Mm,
here's here's something from one of my shows that I point out. There's never been a rule book of what can and can't happen. Like every answer we've ever had of what's possible came from us. And
mm,
so you have to think about it like, how do you know your data is not limited? And the reason I think like, there was a time when everybody thought the earth was flat, very cliche, right?
mm.
But it wasn't because we knew, it's because their data was limited. They took a guess,
Yeah.
right? So how do you know our data is not limited in any direction on any subject?
Yes.
And as long as you realize that without that ultimate rule book, we'll never know. It also means it applies to the same concept of like a video game. How do you know we're not in a video game and there's a secret code
Mm,
that unlocks something? Like maybe the number of trials is part of the code.
yes.
So after 1,001 time of hopping on one
Yeah.
foot, you fly away. Now,
Yes.
and then that the reason why I bring that up, and I know it sounds a little weird to think that way, but it usually the only time I get somebody saying, well, that's not true, is people often think science is there to tell us what can and can't happen. And that's actually a misconception. Science is there to tell
Mm,
us what is
yeah.
likely versus less likely given what we've learned so far. So for some people, it will say jumping on one foot for 1,001 times and flying away is highly unlikely, which is true. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means it's unlikely.
Unlikely, but it's not a zero probability.
Yeah, exactly. There's even probability you open your dryer one day and everything's folded. So like
You know,
like
I actually love I seriously I love this so much because I feel like I'm one of those closeted people who really believe that anything is possible. And and it's like, but I believe it could totally be because we don't know. We just don't know. And and so how how do you take what you're doing now in the education realm, because I feel like as kids, we do come in as blank slates, right? Our brains are full of the possibility and we aren't limited by that data set, right? How do you like, do you feel there is a prime time to um, talk with kids so they don't lose this, or you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't become so enmeshed with, well, there's
well,
data. It doesn't,
I can't
it's
say
not
there's
gonna.
a like a special time of the year or
No, no, but like, is there like
but
an age that you're like
right.
that you've noticed working with kids? It's like they kind of start losing this wonder, or they start.
Well, there's probably a couple answers to this. The first one that usually resonates with everyone in the museum community and
Mm,
in the education space is something happens between before the age of 13. So there's something magical that happens between
Okay.
when you're born and the age of 13. And the data supports that if you don't have a positive experience with STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, or mathematics, before the age of 13, it's highly unlikely that you would go into a STEAM category.
Whoa, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
highly unlikely if you don't have access to quality STEAM education before the age of 13, there's quite a bit of data that says you're probably not going to go into that industry. Now, a lot of people have also attributed that to the idea of like people will only be what they think they can see or what they see. And that explains why people like to be influencers or they want to be a pro athlete or they want to do because they can see it before the age of 13. And so when it comes to like a timing situation, whatever we're talking about, whatever the catalyst is, I would say it has to happen before the age of 13, given the data. Or it's probably more likely that it should happen before the age of 13.
Yes,
And
yes.
so, but as far as what we need to do, I think that's a complete change of the way we teach. Um, we have to be willing to nurture the concept of our students seeing farther than we did. The whole concept of standing on our shoulders to see farther than we did, like our next generation to stand on the shoulders of giants. That whole concept is to make sure that the student can ask bigger, bold questions that change the world beyond what we could do. And so that means teachers have to be comfortable with the idea of saying, I don't know the answer and we don't know everything. The
But that's huge, right?
It's huge.
And it goes back because it's like so in our culture that those who are teaching us, it's you really can't question, and they just are supposed to know. Like, and
Yeah, I think the education system originally, the idea was I give you information, you give it back to me, and now I grade you on how well you were able to, uh, I guess,
hear my words.
regurgitate or remember or retain
Mhm.
information. But as information became more accessible, um, you have to be who's able to ask a question that challenges the answers that we have. Yeah, using like I often tell there's a big shift that's happened, and it kind of happened right under our noses. And that one of the reasons why I went into the education space. Um, with the age of information, you've got tons of information out there, accessible to everyone. So the real secret to the whole thing is we need to teach kids how to ask questions in the age of information.
Mhm.
Um, I can go on and on about a flaw with the format of the internet. I have tons and tons of stuff I've worked on with this one, and I'll just paraphrase it with this way.
Yes,
Race to get information. We ranked ideas by likes, clicks, shares, and views. And we thought
yes.
that was a great idea. But in the history of humankind, it's never been a good idea to rank ideas by popularity. Because if you put the most popular one first, when does a revolutionary idea start off popular?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
It's
it
always
falls to
the
the
one that the
bottom.
mass majority of people are like, absolutely not. The earth is still flat.
Well, what happens if you put the most popular one first and a revolutionary idea starts at the bottom? Now, look at it from the perspective of a person searching a question. They
Mm,
grab from an already popular idea, even if it's wrong and out of date,
yes.
because they don't know the answer.
Hmm.
And so, but the problem we have with our situation is once you've clicked on it, even if you had the education to know this is wrong or out of date, it's too late. You clicked on it, you've made it more popular to the next person.
Yes.
With
Hmm.
every iteration, the wrong answers have climbed too in the age of information.
Yes.
And so we're now hoping our next Einstein has a search engine optimization plan on top of being a genius. And the worst part about it is even though AI is incredible, do not get me misquoted.
Yeah.
AI is incredible.
But it's pulling from all that also misinformation that's
It's
at the top,
pulling
the
from the
most popular,
information. Yeah,
right?
it's pulling from the information we gave it. So the
Yeah.
easiest way I've explained it to people in the past is had the internet been around when we collectively thought the earth was flat, you'd never be able to search the true shape of earth via any search engine because everyone's uploaded the wrong answers and then we ranked it by likes, clicks, shares, and views.
Yes.
And and we like to think that the cream will rise to the top but there's no part of the internet that
Mm.
suggests it follows the scientific method.
Yes.
Once you've clicked on it, where's the peer review? We don't know where your journey ended. You could have said, this is all baloney. None of this makes sense. Doesn't matter. All
But you've already clicked on it.
your entire path has been tracked as clicks, likes, and views.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we don't know what the result was. And so the last segment of the scientific method is peer review.
Yes, absolutely.
And we just said, it's okay. We just need information. That was a mistake. That was,
Oh, that's actually really interesting. Yeah, that we just need information.
yeah. And so
And
the whole
and we're
idea is
not
like,
realizing that in our journey for all this information that we have on our fingertips, it doesn't matter if we even know it's incorrect information. We are like
no,
propagating, we're
sometimes, yes,
popularizing incorrect information.
sometimes
Mm,
information is better than no information.
mm,
And, but, the generation that saw the generation that saw the birth of the internet is using the internet like a tool.
mm,
Well, while the next generation is using it more like a crutch.
yeah.
And so you've got people depending on the internet for the answer on their journey, but they forgot we gave the internet its answers.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
and so, and for
And
me,
probably some of the educational realm, right? It probably is pulled from data or
yeah, I can't
information
say, I
that
don't
is
want to say
there.
it's dismal and everything's horrible. What I'm saying
No, but
is
it
like,
is, it's just an interesting concept just to contemplate. I love
yeah,
contemplation. So
so
it's just an interesting contemplation.
for me, all I did was like, I saw the situation. I gave a talk about this on a TEDx Wall Street talk.
Mm,
Got a phone call from is Chris Lytle, who's that was at the time was like I believe he was COO of the Smithsonian, asking if they could use that call for leadership training to explain the flaw they're spotting in the education space.
wow.
And I realized instantly that it's going to hit this concept of following a wrong answer or just the most popular might hit the education space faster than it hits the general community. And so I joke around. I had this ultimate moment of just saying I've got a background in applied physics, or I've got background in multiple applied sciences. I know how to entertain and excite and inspire curiosity. What if I just bash them together and create a program designed to inspire kids to ask questions? And so I took the nation's science standards and I rewrote them into magic tricks. And
It's amazing. And so that's your impossible science.
that's
That is
impossible
now your
science.
like your passion, your
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope I like it now.
you kind of so um
Yeah. So for those watching, we have museum partners all over the country. We have 8 partnered museums. We have 27 camps in California. We have 4 touring science centers where we convert gymnasiums into temporary science centers for rural and underserved communities that don't have a museum, and hundreds of thousands of kids. I mean, literally, each festival is going through 1,000 kids a day.
I saw the lines of people and I just saw you were what was it last week you were highlighted on CBS Chicago or something
Yes, yeah. So
and you were doing and they said every show is packed and you're doing multiple shows a day.
yeah, so before I was in Buffalo, New York, like 2 weeks ago, and I did 24 stage shows with Impossible Science on Impossible Science Live. Meanwhile, my team's in Illinois, and we're doing 18 Impossible Science festivals, which is the touring museum,
Mhm.
is going through all of Illinois, and they're seeing about 1,000 kids a day now, and it's going on right now. It's pretty exciting, pretty.
That's amazing. So then, I mean, it is. It's absolutely amazing, and it's like I love your different, varied approach to it. But and you said you use the nation's science standards.
Yes,
So let's just say I would like to get you into our district,
yeah. You
or
go.
but how do you even broach that conversation with your district
It's
because they already have their
It's
set
absolutely
curriculum.
crazy. So like I'm like this rogue magician scientist just running around trying to change the world. And so the first thing I did when I came up with this idea of trying to inspire kids is I called every science center in Southern California. And we started with San Diego because that was the only science center that called me back.
Are you serious?
Dead serious, like 10, 11 years ago. And
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
credit to Dr. Steve Snyder, the CEO there. He heard the concept, he understood it immediately, and he's like, "We don't even have a venue for this. Like, what would where would we do it?" And I said, "What? How about your IMAX dome?" And so he's like, "Okay, let's do that." So we converted the IMAX dome into a theater, and it was supposed to run for 8 weeks. It eventually ran, what was it, a year and a half, 6 shows a weekend, every weekend,
Wow.
well, 100% capacity. It was just amazing. And we only stopped because I was getting tired. Like that
Oh,
was
you were doing each show?
well, this was back when I took my stage show from my magic show. So I had already built a giant stage show and I
Yes.
just moved that into a science center and combined it with my TED talk about why the world needs wonder. And then eventually I realized we need to change that into a scalable model where I created more of experiments where the kids blow their own minds, where
Mm,
if you don't understand what you're looking at, it's going to look like magic. And that became a scalable version for other science centers to do. I would still fly in and do shows, but the festival was the way that we could scale that impact. It
mm.
wasn't until COVID happened that Sony and I partnered to turn anything I've ever created for a museum into a video series. And we did, I don't know, it was like 100 million plus views across. The one rule we had was give it away for free. Like, and so I'm
Yes.
like, okay, that sounds amazing to me. And so
Yes.
um, we gave the video content away for everybody, and then all of a sudden I started seeing these phone calls saying, "We can't make it to the museum. We love the curriculum. How is this possible? What can we do?" And that's when I came up with the idea of the Mobile Science Center.
Yes.
Um, but to get back to the original question is we backed our way into the education space because we started with museums. There was just a lot less red tape with the way a
Yes.
museum is run. And so I was able to make a bigger change in the museum community than schools immediately.
Mm,
However, now that we have so many camps working directly with school districts, if you
mm,
know a school administrator or STEAM coordinator or even a principal can make the right phone call. You can just go to impossiblescience.com, scroll down to the bottom, send us a comment, a message of what you're thinking about, what you're interested in, even if it's professional development, teaching your teachers how to inspire kids to ask questions. We have that too.
amazing.
Somebody will contact you and we'll just see what we can do to make the impossible possible. Like, no pun intended. We literally,
Mm.
we, if you're in California, easy. We have events from San Diego to Sonoma all the time.
Wow. Okay.
If you're in an out of state location, I try to do my best. I've the newest thing that we've been telling everybody: if you get five superintendents together, meaning I can or figure out a way to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday
Mm,
events, we will cover the shipping anywhere in the continental U.S. So,
amazing.
well, so you just tell us where you are, and if we can get five districts
Mm,
together, um, we're coming.
I love it. I love it. So anyone who is listening to this, and I know who does listen to this, they're going to love this. Yeah, go to his website, get your districts on board, and yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't see why in this day and age with financial issues and everything else, fiscal issues, like why they wouldn't want someone to come in free and give
Yeah.
a top, like a world class
Thank you.
lesson.
The real secret to Impossible Science festivals and events and stuff like that
Mm,
is the volume of kids that we're seeing. So
yeah.
the most buses alone are like $500 to rent a bus, and that sometimes doesn't even include the bus driver, which is kind of funny. But it just a bus.
They should go together, but
Yeah, they're just sitting on the bus, just waiting.
I can't drive it anywhere.
So, but when you think about the math of that, it's 50 kids for $500. It's already $10 a child, and they haven't gone anywhere. And but if we
Yeah.
move the science center to the school, not only do we remove all logistics of the bus, but you're not even leaving the campus.
Mm,
And you're not even losing the school day. So like some people aren't taking field trips because they don't want the traffic. They don't want to lose the entire school day just to go to a science center for 1.5 hours. When when we can move it to the gymnasium, have an amazing science experience, get kids really excited about questions, and then they just the bell rings and go to the next class. And
awesome.
so I know people at home are wondering about what is an impossible science. So I'm going to show you something.
Yeah, show us, please.
So so this is the easiest, like one of the multiple impossible science. So you see four circles, correct?
Hmm.
If I take it, I'm going to slowly
But
turn.
there's probably not four circles. That's what
I'm
you're.
gonna I'm gonna turn it into another shape, but it's not. It's
Okay.
solid, all right. But if I rotate it around, then you've got four suits. See, it's not even a trick. It's just if you don't understand this, this is going to look like magic. You got four circles, and I rotate it around, you get four suits.
So can you, okay, so you come up with all of these, right?
I can't take credit for this. This is actually from a mathematician named Kokichi Sugihara from Japan. He came on Impossible Science. He pointed out that any 3D object or any 2D shape can be made in 3D with points moving forward or backwards. Uh,
Okay, explain it. Can you explain that to us?
oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So if you go outside and you look at the stars, assuming you're at nighttime, that's a lot easier to find the stars. But if you if you go to the star and you point out the stars, point to four stars that make a square, right? It's very possible that one of those all those four stars are not on the same plane,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
of course.
One star could be really far away, one star
Mhm.
could be really close, but there's an infinite amount of points that still make a square. Makes sense,
Mm,
right? But
yes.
that's also true for any other 2D shape, a triangle, a circle. Make sense?
Yeah.
So
Oh, absolutely.
if there's an infinite amount of ways to make a triangle and there's an infinite amount of ways to make a square, then there should be an equation that makes a circle, makes a triangle and a square.
That's amazing. So can that what you just held up, the green for, so it's just perspective.
This one's just perspective, but finding those points is math. So like if
Love
it's the trick works because of perspective, but getting kids excited about math is what we're doing. So the idea behind Impossible
it.
Science is a format that we've created called the 1-2-5. If you take a magic trick and you break it down into steps, the reason why a person has questions at the end of a magic trick is because they've skipped steps. Some when you're driving home, you're like, I wonder how
Oh.
they saw that person in half. It's because you skipped steps and you were not told about all the steps. And the magician just chose not to tell you about certain things they're doing, right?
And your mind just skips over them because you don't know about all
Yeah, yeah.
there should
You
be
saw.
steps in between.
I'll break it down. You could say we're gonna and well, the 1-2-5 is the idea is if you take a science experiment and you break it down to steps, if we skip steps on purpose in the
Mm,
delivery of this information, it's going to come off like a magic trick. We're going to
mm,
move an object without touching it. There's no strings, there's no wires, and then it moves
yeah.
on its own. And now you've gone setup, framing, or parameters, like what it's not, and then delivery. Move an object without touching it, no strings, there's no wires, and then it moves. Now you have kids say, hey, why is that working? And now you can talk about 3 and 4. You can talk about static electricity. Now you
Mm,
can talk
mm.
about air pressure. And so the idea is hook the engagement, get kids excited about asking questions because then science becomes empowering. Because like you're like, the more you know, the more you can do.
Absolutely.
And so like, um,
I mean, you keep talking about kids, but quite honestly, I feel like wonder needs to be reinstilled in so many adults as well. So I feel
yeah,
like this
kids
spans
are more
the,
open to it. Let's just be honest.
what did you say?
Kids are more open to it. Let's just be honest.
That's true. But still, I'm gonna hold my ground that I feel like more wonder could be instilled in adults as well, like the joy it would bring to their life. But yeah, yeah, go on.
So when I talked about this, if you go back, it was really, we're going to make an object transform, change shapes. And then I went, that's the framing of what it can't be. It's not going to be some moldable piece of plastic that you just make it into a coffee mug or something. Like
Yeah.
I was framing saying that this is solid, it's not going to change. And then I did the effect. So when you said, how does that work? It's a very common response. Could you explain that to me? And
But that's
so
skipping the steps, right? It's
that's
just,
skipping. If I said, if I did the whole star thing first and then showed it to you, you'd be like, oh, that's cool. I understand how that works now.
yeah.
By doing the 1-2-5 as basically boiling down a magic trick to what's the minimum amount of steps you could skip and through
Mm,
and I'll be honest, through fuzzy math I came up with the a minimum of 2 steps. The idea was, could we use that format over any science experiment known at all? And it turns out it works, and it works very, very well for us. Retention, engagement. And so that's our professional development. So if you're an educator or watching this
mm, I
podcast and
love
you're
it.
like, how do we do this? Well, we have a whole professional development team that is literally teaching teachers how to take any lesson plan they have and identify points of a 1-2-5 in it. And then when there's even parts in the professional development where you submit your favorite lesson from school, and we often find it accidentally falls into the 1-2-5. So this isn't, it may not be new, but it's kind of just been kind of like rediscovered, I guess you would say. Like some people like, oh, some lesson plans.
It's applying it differently to actually have effect, right?
Yeah, some people go like, I have this one lesson plan and I love doing it every time. Every year the kids just absolutely get their mind blown. And then we start dissecting what happens and they go, "Oh my gosh, it is the 1-2-5." And you can do this with history too. You can be like, "We discovered a new land. Um, we shipped them goods and services, and then there was war.
Oh,
Like
and it's like, well, how does that happen? But then you're coming
exactly
in with
that.
the, oh, so okay,
And then
okay.
and
So
then we
it's
charge too much for the and then you get now you're in a conversation. Oh, we charge too much for the goods and services, and then they didn't want to pay that back to us. But what's happened is now we're in engagement.
curiosity, right?
Exactly.
It is in the curiosity of which can I bring in one of my favorite quotes that I heard you say? I'm completely paraphrasing because I feel like this is a great place. Let me find it so I don't want to misquote it, but you were saying that we look back to history to just find out and discover what questions were asked so that at our moment in time where we are, we can ask different questions.
Yeah, I know.
Hmm.
I think so
Okay.
I often reference walking up to a board game with a group of people that are already playing. All right.
Mhm.
And I say it's kind of like walking up to a board game and you saying, well, can this piece do that? And you're like, no, that piece can't do that.
Because they know that.
Because
So they can tell you
they've been
that.
playing the game before you got there.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it, education is really about learning the questions that have already been asked in this game before you got here. So
Yes.
that you can ask a new question given what we've learned so far. And
And
so
propel things forward and maybe even come up with a completely different question that has never been thought of because you're coming in with this different understanding and curiosity.
now people say that works in theory, but it's actually worked in history. If you look at like think about E equals MC squared.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure everything was going on just fine in the world. Nobody knew they had it wrong. Everybody was just doing their thing.
Yeah, they
No
didn't
one,
care.
it,
Yeah.
it didn't, it, no one, the average person was not just saying, I wonder if we're thinking about the world wrong. And
Hmm.
all it took, and it didn't take a technology and it didn't take a machine. It took one person to say, I wonder if we're looking at things the wrong way, or this
Yeah.
phenomenon doesn't make sense to me. And they asked the question and it changed the world forever.
Hmm.
So it was literally a question. And that's why I try to remind people it's like anyone's capable of asking a question. You're born
Hmm.
with the ability to ask a question, and the right question changes everything.
Hmm.
And so, like, we have to instill this sense of wonder that if we're ever going to try to, like, if you were watching a game, let's say, like, let's say you're watching checkers or chess,
Yeah.
it's very easy to play the entire game without a pawn making it to the other side.
Yes, usually. Yeah.
Exactly. And you could
Oh, but the okay, so the probability is it can make it there and it does make it there. And so
and
what
then
happens?
the rules change. It could be something
It
else.
could be yeah, oh, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so the idea is we can play a game and still be playing it and feel like we know all the rules, but we haven't seen this new scenario show up.
Yes.
And so you could easily be playing chess and never be good enough to make it to the other side. And you
Hmm.
would never be aware that there's a whole new set of rules if you can do that.
Hmm.
And that's the type of excitement that I try to instill in my students with impossible science is like no one ultimately knows what's possible. And the next question that changes the world could come from anyone, anywhere. And he or she, the most exciting part about it, especially for teachers, is
Yeah.
you may actually have the next Einstein in your classroom right now,
Hmm.
and they don't know it either. And so it's our duty as educators to empower and give them the courage to ask a question that challenges the way things work.
Hmm.
And and that's the game. That's my game. It's like
I
inspiring
love it.
curiosity
I
on
love
a
it.
massive scale.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so much value in all of this. And it just keeps coming back full circle, like everything you say. I'm like, oh, okay, that feeds into what you said before. But I do have a question for you, piggybacking on this, asking questions, the curiosity. It only takes one question. Um, what do you see as because what you do now, you use science to explain it, and even though it still looks like magic, you can break it down and you explain it, like even your 1, 2, 5 method. And what do you see like short term and long term? It seems like magic now, but it's like heading in the direction of science will explain it. I think of like entanglement theory and all of that, right? It's like what do you see on the horizon as those things that will be revealed?
Well, I think as we get older, we have a tendency to think whatever I know, not me, like, but collectively, we,
Hmm.
the average person tends to say whatever I know, it must be the same thing everybody else knows. It's a weird way of thinking. I know it sounds very funny that if you say like, well, the world is round. I know the world is round, and everybody and I'm not saying the world's flat. I'm just saying people have a tendency to say because I think it, so should everybody else.
Should everyone else? Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and and so the funny thing is when you point it out that specifically, it's obviously wrong, right? But you have a natural tendency to do that. And the reason why I think that's so important to point that out is that's true with everything in magic and science. What you know might be possible and not possible is different than the next person of what they think is possible and not possible. So my
So that line of what would be the
yes,
discovery of explaining is a sliding
it's a
rule.
sliding scale. Entanglement might make some more sense to one person than another person. But then also my level of impossible science, when you see me do impossible science on stage and my stuff is shaping water and bending light, well, the kids just as excited about the questions they could ask, but the parents might be like, no, I don't think that one's actually possible. The
Oh, yes,
high
yeah.
level of impossible science says I'm fully capable of doing this. I have no superpowers. I'm just an individual who asks a lot of questions in each of these different fields of science.
Hmm.
And I have no problem admitting to everybody I have no superpowers. Um, I know I've checked after every spider bite.
And you're still the same.
No, not this time. but but it's really important for kids to hear that. Now, it's also important for adults to hear it, but from where I come from, it's important that kids realize that what they're going to learn in the gymnasium or my science center or the camps, this is their level of impossible science, but they can keep going.
Mm.
And I think that's true long term for everybody is not falling for the illusion of knowledge that just because you don't think it's possible doesn't mean it's ultimately not possible. It just means, given what you've learned so far, this is what's possible. And that's what science is. Given what we've learned so far, what is likely versus less likely.
Yeah.
But like when I talk about levitation, I mean, I've often heard a lot of people say levitation is not real. And there are ways to trick people into thinking levitation is real, but then there's also something like this. This is a levitation wand. And if I take this, I can
Mm.
actually get something to float. This, if you didn't understand what you're looking at, this would look like magic, but it's actually just static electricity.
Mm.
And so this wand is a handheld Van de Graaff, and it builds
That's
up a stacked
awesome.
charge, and it touches that tinsel. The tinsel has the same charge, and because they have the same charge, they're repelling. Now, if you didn't understand that, it's going to look like magic. But if you
Mhm.
understand it, it looks like science.
Oh, so it's like someone else could be watching that. If they come in with their worldview, they'll be like, he's just tricking you. It's not happening at all. There's strings, there's something, there's air blowing.
Yeah, so
Mm.
somebody
And
can
you
say,
explain away the magic even, and you explain away the science.
yes, somebody can see that same effect and say, oh, that's a science experiment. And somebody else can see it, think about what's possible differently, usually younger, and go, oh, that's a magic trick. So the same effect can be viewed two different ways. So when we say what's the long-term version of magic? Well, the term of magic is actually seeing over the horizon, getting kids and adults to believe we don't know everything, and I wonder what's over there.
Mm. It really is not discounting anything. And another thing that you said that actually is you just said whatever you don't understand is magic, and you've that's what you're alluding to, and it's hitting me just how much we cut short because we're like we don't understand it. So just let's flick it away. Let's not.
Yeah, it's easy to say things are impossible. It's easy to say that's not possible. And and the funniest part about it is how do you know what's ultimately possible and not possible? And more importantly, um, yeah, you could probably say like given the math, you could probably figure that. Given science experiments, yeah.
Mhm.
But you also have to remember, given what we've learned so far, it looks highly unlikely. Is probably a better, more accurate statement than saying the word impossible. And and the real reason is who came up with the concept of impossible?
Mhm.
The
Absolutely.
universe or us?
Mhm.
And once you remember that, then it's like, wow, game on it. Right question changes everything.
Then everything is possible.
Then everything is possible. Yeah, yeah.
Man, I this has been such a wonderful conversation. I feel like I had all these questions more. I still would like to keep asking you, but
Come
I
on. Anytime you want.
I I just appreciate your time so much. If you could wrap it all up, and I mean you're so well spoken in your passions. If you could wrap it all up into one sentence, everything that we've kind of touched on today.
Wonder changes the world. Yeah, it's that.
We begin and end there.
Yeah, it's for whatever reason, our ability to ask a question and doubt our own answers and our own understanding of how things work. For whatever reason, it's here. So you have sight of sound, sight of smell, taste, hearing, um, but our sense of wonder has to be here for a reason. It's,
Mm. It's like another sense.
yeah, because like we can wonder about something that hasn't happened before, and like the concept of tomorrow, we can wonder about tomorrow.
Mm.
And as of right now, we're the only living species we know of that can understand that. Like try to teach your dog the concept of tomorrow.
That there's a continuum time and
Yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah.
Oreo, come here. Let's talk about what
Yeah,
happened
to,
yesterday.
to believe in
Yeah.
something that hasn't existed yet is the same thought process of wondering about a cure for the for the disease we don't understand, believing in a technology the world needs but doesn't have. It's our ability to exceed information, which is why a question is so much more important than an answer. So fundamentally, at its core, it's
Mm.
wonder that changes the world.
And now I'm seeing why you are so passionate about this education because like if you go back to your own youth, you said it was really being surrounded by the other magicians at the Magic Castle that kept that wonder and that curiosity alive. So you had a group of people around you saying, keep it, keep it, keep it. Like,
Yeah.
don't lose it. There's value here. And so if kids don't have this, like you were saying, even before the age of 13, you're coming in as kind of like that group of magicians were for you. You were being that for the kids.
Absolutely true. Growing up in the world of magic, having an entire community say, "Well, why couldn't you do it?" or "How would you do it?"
Mm,
Is has been instrumental in the creation of impossible science. And now we're seeing tons of magicians all over the world come out to support impossible science. Uh,
amazing.
at the World Championships of Magic, they featured impossible science
That's amazing.
in Turin, Italy. I was just in Columbus at a magic festival where thousands of magicians were just saying, "How do we help? How do we expand this?" Because we hear the word magic and we think rabbits out of hats, sawing a woman in half, or whatever the effect is, find my card. And
We're
it's,
just trying to trick you.
yeah, I'm trying to fool you.
Yeah.
The reality is, magic is the forefront of all science. There was a time when we used to say mirror, mirror on the wall, and that was fantasy. And now we're FaceTiming. And so the idea behind it is we can't lose that ability to exceed our information. And in this next generation, it's going to become more important than ever before to see beyond our answers in the age of information. It's extremely crucial inflection point where we either get to spin our wheels with everything we know, or we get super excited about everything we could do with the answers we have already.
And the things we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I love it that you brought up the mirror, mirror on the wall. My husband and I were just talking about this last night, knowing that I was going to be coming and speaking with you. And um, we were just talking about all of this technology that is in sci-fi. Like sci-fi was this, it always predates, like the iPad, the Apple Watch, all this stuff that just seemed space travel and everything else. And it's like you look at that, and the people who were coming up that were just in a curious creative state
Oh, absolutely.
because they had no bounds around them of like, oh, you can't make a movie about this. It was just completely free reign. And then you see that stuff coming to be now. And
That's exactly how I found a lot of illusions I wanted to bring to life. I was watching something science
I'm
fiction,
serious.
and I go, "Wow, that's really cool." If a lightsaber is real, then you could slide a ring down a beam of light.
Hmm.
If a beam of light became in, you could interact with it, is exactly how I came up with the idea of grabbing a beam of light and spinning around like a staff. Shaping water came from a long time ago when I watched the movie Abyss, when water came out of and it just made a shape of a face. Now I
Yes.
did end up creating the face. It just looks like Quasimodo, but like this, but the as far as shaping water into an object and handing it to somebody, that came from the idea of water taking shape in a science fiction movie. Um,
Amazing.
even my levitation when the stage rotates around. So I have a
Mhm.
levitation where, if you ever want to see it, just type in Jason Latimer and levitation. Then uh, my assistant floats up in the air, and then the entire stage turns around, and you see it from 360 degrees. That was inspired by the movie Matrix. When I saw the
Oh, absolutely.
when I
He's all
saw
swaying.
live bullet time, I was like, that's really cool. I wonder if we could do that in real life. And took
And
a
so it's not a trick. It's everything you do is a full blown, it's backed by science. It's just you're leaving out 3 and 4 steps.
Probably 99% of the time. Yeah. Because if you ever saw it from my perspective, it would make a lot more sense.
Because it's all filled in. That's
Yeah. And
so
that
you go and you create all of these amazing illusions from those 5 steps. Essentially, you start with science or you start with that curiosity and then you see where
yeah,
science can come in.
back in the day when I was designing only magic tricks for myself, I would start off with a concept and reverse engineer how I would make it happen. And now when I'm dealing with kids, I take science experiments, national science, what's called the next generation science standards, and then
Mm.
you take the experiment and I reconfigure that to be a magic trick. So it's kind of, but I've been doing this for quite some time. I've got quite a few of, I guess, tools in my toolbox to be able to do something like this. So there's no set way for me to do it. It's like the MMA of science. Like, impossible science is anything goes, and it's going to be. I can tell you one thing: we're going to blow your mind when you go through it. If you go through the exhibit, the camp, the festival, professional development, it wouldn't be impossible science if you didn't come out asking a ton of questions and feeling inspired.
Yeah. And I'll have to say, I was watching your videos and it was just time and time again. I'm like, it just doesn't seem possible. It just doesn't seem real. But I know it is because he is
Because it happened.
legit. So there has to be reasons. Oh, what a, like, seriously, what a wonderful gift that you are giving to the world, your passion, your curiosity that you just continue to give. You keep reinventing it for the next generation and even for us as adults. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. As long as everybody keeps staying excited about it, I'm going to keep going. So, yeah, just keep telling everybody about it and we'll change the world a little bit.
Absolutely. So for those listening, look up Impossible Science, see about getting in your school districts, reaching out. Like it's like wealth that you didn't know before you listened to this. So thank you so much for your time, Jason. It was
Thank you.
incredibly valuable.